pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. First on the agenda is minutes from January 7th, 2025. Everybody had a chance to look over them. Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion. Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Just make sure you sign that. Next up is claims.
No claims.
No claims.
Oh.
That'll make it easy.
Yeah.
Okay, claims are done. Next up, 2025 emergency maintenance contract. Oh, this was one more that was submitted.
Yes,
Okay. You had those other ones the last meeting.
right.
What is that? I mean,
That's for the FEMA that they started doing in like 2018 or 19. If we get an emergency, then those guys have all of it for flooding.
They're ready to go to work. If
Yeah.
They need to be. Okay.
And they can get reimbursed and
Is that something we don't have to vote on that or not? I'm saying. Nope. Maybe. You signed the second.
yes, I did. Do you need to see this or same as before?
It's up to them. It's- Next, Coleman Ditch, Mark Detloff.
So Mark's here, what I found in the minutes from 2007 was that, this ditch doesn't collect any maintenance, and so in 2007, when Larry was here, he came before the board to ask if he could clean it out and present what his idea was, and Mr. Dedloff, I believe, wants to do the same thing. So.
Yeah, it started out, well, first of all, I wanted definition on it, the Coleman, and see if it was what it was private. Whether, cause we haven't received any or been taxed on it, so I assume it was, but I didn't know how the definition is of the Coleman. If it's a maintenance or a private, or how that's done, or if, if it's downstream, if it is, does that include all the ditching? Basically, what we're doing is, just want to do the maintenance. It's been sitting idle. We haven't done a lot on that for quite some time. Now, since I'm old and retired, I want to get back into the improving or maintaining that. So the Coleman, as you see, starts from the one end of the farm and runs through to 500. The golf course road continues, but that's our strip right there. And I just wanted to see if there was any issues or whatever. We're going to clean that up and just maintain it. I think it's 2016, was it the last
2016.
last time anything was done on that? And it's showing some wear, as you can see. Even we've got a strip that comes back, goes all the way along Highway 35, and it's across from that power station, and that just because of the drainage that's getting higher and higher, and we're losing ground there. But it's even in the last 4 or 5 years, I mean, there's been water up there almost up to the road, and it's just simply because it's not able to drain. We don't have any fall, basically. So we're looking at just if there's any issues or what are going in there, and just cleaning that. What the proper, what the steps are on that.
Where does that actually dump into?
Goes all the way. So it's going to be heading north to,
It goes in by Golf Course Road then?
it goes under the golf course road, then it goes to the next road at 450, and then it goes up into that, and it goes under where the state just put that, relocated that culvert, and then the Bass Lake sewer system, the outlet runs there, but it goes way down further.
Okay, so it all goes north then?
Yeah, from there.
Okay.
Does that go down by yours then? But no, where's that?
Yeah, it would
The
probably would
old,
go somewhere. I don't know, it dumps into the Craig Mile eventually, probably.
Yeah.
I'm guessing.
Yeah,
I think that's where it eventually outlets to.
Right, I would think so.
And
Yeah.
what we're doing, we don't have much fall through there, so it's gotta be a clean ditch.
Okay.
Now we got tile lines that are under the water.
And that didn't work out well last summer.
It did work out well?
It didn't.
Oh, it did? No.
I had several of them that way too. It didn't work out well.
When there's no restrictions,
There's not,
right,
no. This one, it was not documented in the minutes back in 07 that someone came, Larry came before the board. I just wanted to make sure we had it in the minutes that what they were doing and
right,
that they could do it, so.
Yeah, I guess there's really nothing we can,
nope,
No.
I don't think so.
Good.
So good luck.
yeah.
Now, just for clarification, is that strip of the Coleman ditch, which I always get confused because it started as Craig Mile Farms and it's not the Craig Mile ditch, it's the Coleman. But, is that then private? Or does the definition of Coleman ditch make it?
Uh-uh.
No,
We
it's not a private, we don't collect any assessment on it.
It's it's regulated,
Still
Right.
county regulated,
County,
Technically not
correct.
right?
Yes,
Okay,
but no collection.
right?
right,
There's no maintenance on it or nothing.
I was just wondering the definition or what this, okay.
But there's no reason why you can't put a petition out
Mhm.
like that. We've talked about it before, Craig Mile.
Yeah, the Craig Mile needs
Really
something
needs it,
done,
so why don't we start, having somebody
but we can't do it being on the
Yeah.
drainage
put
board.
a petition out there and
Yeah, I mean, if you get it up to specs or whatever, then it can be, you can get a petition, get signatures and stuff, and then get it put on a maintenance program.
Oh, I see.
Which is what we're getting at, yeah.
Okay.
But you'll be taxed.
And
Right, right,
following steps.
yeah, yeah,
Any property owners in the watershed will be taxed.
correct,
Mhm.
yes,
Just wanted to make that clear.
yes, yes.
but there's a whole procedure and
Mhm.
you can
Right.
fill them in if you want. But sometimes they request it.
Yes.
It's gonna be done in less than 5 years?
I would think so, yes. I would hope so, yes.
We'll have that time going.
Well, that's all we were just looking to see if, make sure we're doing the proper procedures and seeing if there's any issues and we just like to, I want to get that started and.
Yeah, it's better to find out before than after. And have to deal with it. No, yeah, you're good.
Forgiveness thing doesn't work.
Right. Well, like I said, if you once get it cleaned or whatever and into this certain specs kind of, and then it can go in to be, a petition to be put on maintenance.
Anything else?
Good.
Thank you.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you, guys.
All right. Have fun.
Next on the agenda is the Peterson ditch variance with MediaCom.
yeah, I'm just going to put a fiber optic cable under the ditch, minimum of 8 feet underneath the ditch. So pretty standard stuff,
8 feet, at least they're getting down there. a ways.
yeah.
Where is that?
That's what I'm trying to
Can
figure
you
out.
pull that up, please? Yeah, I can.
Sure, either, but I don't think that map. Yeah, looking at directions, I guess, but
The roads aren't numbered.
probably that subdivision plate area or something, I'm wondering.
You know, we're down, click on the road.
South,
Look on it, do you see 600 south?
What is it?
700 south,
Oh, 700.
200.
That's Uncle Tom's corner. 700 South 200 East. Must be Uncle Tom's and right
There's
here,
the one
yeah,
on the
because
road.
this is that tower across the road from you.
Okay,
This is the solar panels, so yeah.
Yeah.
It's the intersection.
so you know.
I did now. When you said that,
Sometimes it does.
look, I didn't look at the
Right.
address.
That's here.
Oh, okay, yeah, I didn't see that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Broke it.
Peterson, that's the
That ditch
Peterson.
is deep.
Yeah, that is a deep ditch right in there. They're gonna go 8 foot into that, yeah.
It's road.
Hey, more power to them.
Yeah, wow. Just shut it.
Yeah.
I don't see them from there. There's nothing there. Discussion.
We have no problems, it's just a
No,
big ditch here
Yeah.
to start with.
Say the.
and of course, they'll have a locator on it with 811, so.
Yeah.
Right. Sure. Have a motion,
I'll make motion to accept the variance.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
If somebody
Any
finds it.
sign? No, I did this. Next up. We got Nextera, Babaloi, drainage plans and engineer estimates.
Okay, so since the last meeting, I reached out to Burke Engineering. And their minimum, the starting price was $2,000 for them to look over the plans. They do the first review, if they saw anything that needed change, they'd send it back to Nextera. Of course, they'd make the corrections, send it back to Burke, and that would be for the minimum price of $2,000. I reached out to McCormick Engineering, but without the actual plans. Nextera shared that with us with our shared drive, but I wasn't able to forward it.
Oh.
And so, once I can get that, unless Bob can answer a lot of questions today, then I can, possibly move forward with getting an estimate from them. If I can share those plans, if Nextera releases that for me to do that. Well, I looked through some of the plans and, enlarged them. Hey, Autumn, will you send me the, closest to you? Please. There was only one, because the big drawings weren't in color, so it was hard to tell, obviously, when you're trying to color code something. So I had them share it with me. I printed this off of all the parcels that are affected. And then it had some of the ditches marked on there. And then I took it so we could compare it to like the GIS where all the ditches are. The only one that I could find, can I have little manila folders, please? Thanks, Autumn. And the only one was the Prochaski. I'll say that wrong, but that's the only one that I saw that would be within that, that's a regulated
Okay.
ditch.
And where's that one at?
Sarah, will you pull that up for me, please? Thank you. She's gonna pull it up. Did you
Okay.
say the R or something? Is that PROCHA? I don't know if that helps at all. I mean, it kind of helped me have a little more understanding of what was going on, but there's still no culvert, you know, where the culvert placements would be or anything like that, if there are any on that regulated drain. But
Well, that's good.
That's the only, only drain that's regulated, you said is.
that's the only one I could find, yes, but I mean,
Cause
I'm sure the best I could look, but
I thought they had said that there weren't any on any regulated drains.
they did say that, but I don't know if they, you know, I mean, maybe they missed it.
Right,
So,
that's why I was just curious.
I don't think they were trying to sneak anything through. I just think there's a lot to look at there.
Right.
And then Bob's here he briefly looked at it. Safe to say that you're kind of,
No, I mean, that's it, really.
oh, have you? Oh, okay,
But
all right,
I had to for your.
Just.
okay.
Oh, okay.
Is that right?
That's the ditch you're talking about.
Yeah,
Oh, let me figure out where that's at.
Are they doing a crossing or are they doing like?
I couldn't find that in those plans. I don't know if it was a crossing, to be honest with you. I had a really hard time. There was. Oh, yeah, and those are just soil reports and hydrology reports and absorption rates and stuff like that. So really, the blueprints were
This one,
more
maybe?
helpful than anything.
There.
The old Jordan?
That's great.
That don't look right either.
I'm thinking it's.
Oh.
I'm not following where that's at on this map here, I guess.
What's the dotted line there?
I don't know if that's the river or what that is.
I think that's the. Nope, this was like.
So
Yes, yeah, that's county lines, over by 421 and
That's, is that the case? That's
Yeah,
the
that's the river.
Kankakee River.
Yeah,
Yeah, let's see. That's, here's the county line, southern county line. Would be that.
Maybe eventually into that. So. Oh, wait, here's 420, I'm sorry. It's a county road. Oh, this is the.
I brought all the
That
prints
her
with me.
area is here.
Yes.
I printed off the colors.
See, I'm not
Do you
seeing.
know where that's at, Larry?
I lived around the line very well.
Where does that hit? 421 then?
The Nebraska ditch, is that the one in question?
Yeah.
It don't, the way it looks,
It doesn't.
right, it goes straight, it goes north and into the river before, right?
It never crosses east of 421.
Yeah, it stays east the whole time, man, it never crosses 421.
Stays west of 421 the whole time.
Okay.
Oh, it's what, okay, I see it now, yeah,
Now, yeah.
yeah. 'cause it's 421. Right, right.
The other would be the county line.
Right.
Okay, now we're,
Now I see where we're at.
now we're on the page.
Yep, that helps.
First part of the order.
That's what I hope, no, this is the county line here.
Which, I guess, yeah.
Mhm. This is here, man. I don't see it in this map for some reason.
Kind of hard because it's so zoomed out. No, I think that is there now. We take it over.
And where is the crossing in? That we are in question about, one that goes,
That I don't have on there. I printed all these off.
I'm just.
And maybe
Oh.
that's something.
Larry, could you come here and show, can you show us?
Sure.
Is it on this map? Cause I'm not seeing.
No, they're.
Oh, okay.
on there.
Is it- No, it's not on that map. That's what I didn't see it.
You have to look through all of these and figure out where the culverts were gonna be, and it was very, very confusing.
Okay,
So I was hoping, I asked Bob, and he volunteered actually to come here today, so maybe if he's able to point out exactly. If it was, they're all broke down into individual little parcels, so.
Right,
Hard to
right.
follow along.
Those may be across,
That's what I was wondering.
but where they are on the map.
Right. So I have a question. Is it possible to contract with Bob rather than these other engineering firms since he's familiar with it?
I think you need to kind of. Before you get there, I think you need to understand, what's the, I guess maybe I should explain what my role is right now.
right,
So my role is with the county planning commission, and they have an ordinance. And it had several components of it that I think I helped write. But the parts, there's several parts here, like I see you all looking at this big Indiana drainage manual. And there's several parts to what we're talking about drainage here. So when it comes to the requirements in the ordinance of what they're tasking me to look at, they're tasking me to look at, are they submitting for stormwater control? Are they submitting their NOI to the state? Are they creating a stormwater management plan for construction? That's one component. So, and then the other component is, there's another section in there, there's one line that says that they have to meet with the drainage board to go over any conformance to drainage law. So what are we talking about there? We're talking about the 75-foot drainage easement and whether they have a crossing. You just found out that there's a few crossings they list in their summary. Where those are on the map, I don't know. I have to look for those, but so then they would come to the drainage board for those items and get approval on those crossings. But my responsibility with the plan commission was to, I took it a little bit farther because I would look at all those plans and I would look at 75-foot drainage easement preliminarily. And I would see whether their array or their fence was close to that 75-foot and say, hey, you might want to look at this map, look at it here, see that's pretty close on your 30% plan set. you're gonna have to, make sure that you're in conformance with drainage law when you go to actually construct. So that even though they, in their plan set, they may show something that's really close to that thing, they still have to conform to drainage law there. They're using a map, they're using LiDAR data out of Purdue or whatever, which is pretty accurate, which shows contours, which will show the bank of that ditch, which they can get a measurement from 75 feet to show their array. Now, in the real world, is that what's really happening there? Probably not, but probably pretty close for what we're talking about. In other words, even though when they go to construction, they still have to conform to your requirement in drainage law. So if they start building a fence and Gwen goes out there or whoever you got watching them, she'll see a fence near a ditch, a public drain, say, oh, I'll just pull a feet here. And well, you guys are violating that. So you're gonna have to move the fence or move the array or at that point. So the initial plan set is really to show, hey, we got our fence 75 foot away from what we think is the ditch bank to conform to that ordinance. The other part, it's your part, and in my analysis of that, I say, well, as long as they go past the drainage board meeting, they appear to be in compliance with your planning commission ordinance. So that's kind of the end of my role there. I try to identify everything that may be coming before you, but usually there are, previous solar company submittals. They're way ahead of that. They know where they're going to cross. They know they got to dig a road up and put a culvert in, and they're submitting this plan set of, and you guys are talking back and forth. Hey, we don't like this. You need to do it this way, or that's fine. Approve. And it might take 2 or 3 meetings to do that. So in this instance, I see where they have put, well, Autumn just pointed out that where they have some crossings that they're addressing, and they do, and I can just say that their reports are pretty complete as far as they're doing that analysis on those pipes and what they're going to put in. They're also from the stormwater side, so that the stormwater thing I was telling you about, they are doing the analysis on every site, and then they're applying that methodology to their stormwater calculations, which is typical industry standard. Now, the ordinance that for the plan commission, as long as they, for me to say that they're in conformance, I'm looking at it the same way they're looking at it, that the panels themselves is not that you're not putting asphalt down here, that the ground cover is still a permeable surface. In other words, it's taking water. So as long as they're showing in their calculations and their submittals that they're improving that ground cover. So let's say it's 99% of it is row crops, right? That they're putting this stuff on. So if they're improving that ground cover with these meadow mixes and these pollinator mixes and everything else underneath it, then if they can show that, then to me, they are conforming to the ordinance that they're going to conform to the ordinance when they go to build this thing, that they're actually going to improve the ground cover. So they're actually making the permeability better, that they're going to capture water and it's not going to be as big a runoff problem. That way they don't have to have 6,000 ditches and retention ponds for every field. That really, what are we doing here? That you're treating that as like a parking lot. And that's not the way the methodology of the science goes. So, and that's the way their ordinance is written. So if I can show that they are going to do that. Now, let's say they go to construction and they're just throwing ryegrass down and that's it, which is a typical emergency ground cover, right? To get something to grow. But if they don't put the pollinator mix in, or they don't maintain that grass or that meadow underneath those panels, and then you got a problem. Then they're in violation of their ordinance. So they would have to correct that. And it's also in violation of what you're trying to achieve too. So the stormwater component is, the stormwater construction component is kind of a separate issue. So like you're looking at all these manuals here. Basically, they have to come up with a stormwater general permit application to NRCS. Now granted, the Stark County NRCS doesn't really review that plan to the extent they probably should, just because they don't have the staff they don't have engineers on staff to go through that thing and make sure that every little component of a SWIP plan is there. So, but the process is there. So they write a letter, says we cannot, we're gonna approve this submittal, but we can't check everything. Go ahead and get your notice of intent with the state. So you send your money down to the state, your letter from the NRCS, and it goes downstate. Now, whether the state looks at that plan or not, they either approve or disapprove the NOI. The real regulation comes in stormwater management is when there's a violation. So like they're spilling mud out onto the road or whatever. So somebody's turned them in or whatever, and they're not following their SWIP plan that's posted at their site. So mind you, if they have a SWIP plan posted at their site, they are in conformance to that law. That's the way the law is written. So, but if they violate that, or somebody turns them in and says, oh, they're not following that SWIP plan, then IDEM will get involved. They'll send somebody or they'll investigate and say, okay, you need to correct this or that, or you're in violation, here's a fine, whatever they do. But for the drainage board to take on that task of enforcing that, or hiring somebody like me to enforce that, is usually not the way it's done. Usually that's done internally. They have somebody who's designated on that plan to be the stormwater management person that makes sure all those things are done. It's no different than the road agreement. Somebody is saying, hey, quit driving on that road, we're getting fined, or whatever. We're having to replace this road 6 times. You need to follow, or we're going to fire you and get you off the site. It's no different. So the issue is that the drainage boards and the plan commissions can't really and not even enforce it, but you can't
Police it or.
you can't police it. Correct. Unless you want to hire an engineering firm or some consulting firm like myself. And sure, you can pay me to do that, but it's it's not cost effective. It's more cost effective for you to put the rule down. And then it's enforced by the state, at least for the construction end of it. And your rules enforce the requirements for your 75-foot setback and your ditch crossing. So there are some ditch crossings, maybe that should be looked into as far as, did they do the right calculations? Did they, design it correctly? And is it people, are you in agreement with where they're putting it and what they're doing? And it's no different than any other ditch crossing that's coming before you. The guy wants to put it in, and did he size the pipe right? You're deciding that, right? So that's no different. But the idea that you're going to try to enforce every government rule is going to be a daunting task for you. And with these size of these projects, very daunting. So, obviously I haven't met with the plan commission yet because they don't want to do a tech review of my, I'm pretty much done with my report except for some minor things as far as things that are compliance issues. In other words, meeting with the drainage board is a compliance to the plan commission requirement. They just say that I have to have plan commission or drainage board approval, or the solar company has to have drainage board approval, and then I can comment in there. Yes, they do have, and there are 2 or 3 areas for drainage plant, like what we're talking about here, the SWIP plan and drainage approval and cover crop. And I do notice now, and that's not to say I don't go a little overboard and look at every single plan for drainage and look at these, their calculations, things like the other manual is their like that one is the HydroCAD calculations, which is a computer program that basically spits out the result data of every single site. So they've taken that to a pretty good step there. And then they have this, obviously they have their stormwater management plan and other block, which addresses the culverts and addresses what they're going to do on the sites. Now, what I do notice is that the sites themselves, with the panels, they're relying on the cover crop theory there, that as long as they're meeting those requirements that are in the plan commission, there's no requirement for and they follow through with it, but there's no requirement for storage of like storage ponds and ditching and things like that. That's only required while they're constructing it to make sure they're not doing runoff problems. But the final product doesn't need that. Now, when they're constructing roads, pipes, things like that, and they're constructing facilities around stone pads and things, they are addressing that in the summary, that they are going to provide ditching around those roads as far as stormwater runoff and small detention ponds for those sites. Whether they're required or not, they're probably going to have those at each one of those sites, little depressions that are detention, where they're just handling the stormwater for that little site. But that's my experience with the one-page drainage ordinance of this county is that they're probably overkilling that. It's probably not required. By the time you're done doing the calculation, the stormwater volume that you got to maintain on a 8th acre site or whatever that 16th acre site or whatever that is, where that little building is minuscule compared to what the calculation. In other words, the site itself probably will handle a 3-inch stormwater event or 6-inch stormwater event or even a 100-year event without much damage to the surrounding ground of what you're constructing. So, but they've applied that theory. So, and they're actually going a little one step. Most solar company reviews that I've done, that's the way they're handling it. So there's no question that they're handling stormwater for their stone roads and things like that. Now, if they're going to have a big parking lot, yeah, you might want to take a little closer look at that. And that's something that they might have to have a detention pond and a discharge point to one of your ditches and a regulated flow and things like that. That's the thing that the drainage board needs to identify if there's something like that in their submittal. But for the most part, it's these sites, the panel sites, which don't apply to that, in my opinion. And then you have the other smaller sites that obviously they're taking care of, at least for my initial look at that. Now that's above and beyond what my requirement is with the plan commission, is their approval. So I know I've said a lot here, but really, as a drainage board, I think, this is my opinion though, is that you should be looking at, if there are any pipe crossings, making sure that they are meeting just like anybody else coming in. If those, and if you want somebody like me to look at those, or my firm, you know, that's what I'm not sure that's the apples to apples proposal that Gwen put out to an engineer. That was the issue I had with that. It's like, okay, what are you asking them to do? Because it could get very complicated or not, you know,
Right.
as far as what are you asking them to do. But I think, you know, the drainage board is really concerned with, and what I've seen in past submittals to the drainage board from solar company, is these ditch crossings and making sure they're in compliance with what you have in your 75-foot setback, obviously. Those are the two major issues. And you can correct me if I'm wrong, you guys at the drainage board, there might be other things that you might want to look at.
Right, that's the main thing though, but I had questioned about those culverts, because I read that in there. And I questioned them about that, and they said that it's all on private ditches, it wouldn't affect no public, or none of the
Right, and that very well,
regulated drains.
yeah, but
And
when you present it though, it makes you think it's regulated.
That's kind of what I thought too, and that's why I questioned, but they said, no, it doesn't affect no regulated drains, it's all on private ditches. But then they said, and then if they want to do something in the future, a certain crossing, or they'll have to come back in front of us for a variance or whatever. And then that's when I kind of said, well, if you come back, we approve this thing and you come back to us in 2 months and say, oh, well, we need to put this culvert in here, and we look at it and we think, well, it really don't need to be there, and we say no, they said, then what are you gonna do? Well, we would think that by that time you would have, you know, would understand that we're gonna be improving the drainage and would approve what we want to do. So, you know, that's kind of, I think, why we were kind of at a hold here a minute. To try to understand exactly what's going on before we go any further.
That's
Roberta?
the question. Is this just for the solar, or is this for next era, is this their battery and solar?
All I saw was solar in
Solar,
there.
thanks.
I haven't, but I
Do
didn't,
you know what's going in front of the tech committee next week? Is this for their battery storage and the solar? Or is this project just the solar? The reason I ask is because you brought up like a parking lot. So my question is with the battery storage, that is a large one area that I would think that there should be some kind of additional drainage for if that's part of what they're asking for right now.
What's your question to me?
Is this just the solar? Phase 3 or whatever phase it is of the solar, or is this their solar and battery storage?
My task, the plan commission, is to review the current ordinance for solar. Review, there's no.
Right, but what I'm saying
There's
is
no
the
battery.
permit that
The
they're
word
looking,
battery is not in my ordinance.
so this does not include any of the battery storage proposal for 421 and 10. None of the drawings or anything that you.
I don't.
Not that I'm aware of.
I don't think I saw anything.
I didn't look at it.
Because I was told that this was all one project. I can double check with Mary upstairs, but I was told that they were trying to get a permit for both of those things all in this one.
No, all I'm reviewing for the plan commission. I mean, I don't work for the drainage board right now. I'm working the county. But, my task with the drainage board or with the, plan commission,
I did see a map that said something about.
2022-017 ordinance.
Right, which also includes battery storage.
No, it does not.
It does. It because the ordinance, Charlie helped me out here, but that's why we wanted to separate the ordinance. Is because the current ordinance says solar installations or battery energy storage systems. It's all lumped into one ordinance.
Yeah.
So my question is with this review, I know when I looked at the 30% drawings that were submitted, there's information in there for the battery storage system and where it's going, but then it says see whatever plan, but that plan didn't exist. Because I think it's only, and I don't know why all of a sudden we're only doing 30%. Because when we did the first round of Mammoth and Next Era, the drawings weren't just 30%. So I don't know why that changed or when it changed, but the battery storage
I'll
is
clarify that
listed.
real quick. 30% plan is a typical, plan set that. Because they're not gonna design the whole system for review, and that's not required. Saying that.
By the county ordinance or whatever.
The county ordinance doesn't specify currently
Oh,
what
okay.
percentage.
Okay.
All I know is Mammoth even said in the meeting that 30% is crazy and they would always have more than that. And when I went back and looked at what we approved, the first 2 times it was more than 30%, and we had basically full drawings, knowing that there could be changes.
Just so you know,
30% industry standard, you said?
if you're gonna get.
But I mean, I guess that's my question, is the battery storage included in the time? I don't know.
Yes.
So I represent Nextera with Denton's, and so the plan that the drainage board has does include the battery component of it as well.
Okay.
So it's a holistic site plan.
So then we should be checking to make sure this battery stuff is done correctly in the tech review as well.
I thought I did see a map somewhere because originally I thought they said it was going to be on the southeast corner of 421-10, but in the map that I saw, wherever I saw it, it was showed it on the north side of 10. You know, Larry? Okay, okay, all right, that's fine. But that's what I saw on the map, because I thought,
Right, that's what I mean. I saw it in the map, but I didn't see anything about like drainage retention around that, because that's a huge,
right,
I mean, that's a big area. So I would think that to his point, it'd be similar to a parking lot. Because the amount of storage containers and where they sit and the concrete pads.
but I don't remember which book I was, one of those books I was looking at, and then it showed a different location than what I was told originally, and that's why I was kind of curious on that, but I didn't know how, you know.
So, correct me if I'm wrong, there's nothing in the current ordinance that addresses, you have a separate thing for batteries, so there's nothing in the current ordinance. I'm doing to improve the compliance to that. They may submit a 30% plan set of their entire project. Or 100% plan of their entire project, but your ordinance doesn't mention anything about
I'm talking about.
that I'm reviewing it for better. So that's what I'm trying to make this clarified. She's kind of saying, this parking lot thing, that's another issue. And just an example of permeable and non-permeable. 30% of plans is just 30% of their overall final construction plan set. But you would not have a final construction plan set for review of ordinances. They're putting enough in there for their review of this ordinance or other ordinances or the drainage order or something else. So I think there's another battery ordinance that's before the plan commission to review or come up with or something. So I don't know nothing about that.
I mean, I've got it here, but I mean, it does include battery storage. It's in the first.
Any other comments, things?
Glenn, when you talked to, was it Bert, right?
Yeah, it was Bert.
What, I guess, what did you ask of them, or did you?
I asked them if they could review the plans and let us know where culvert locations were or borings or that type of thing. And then explain it to the drainage board, exact locations. That's what I asked.
Which
But like I said,
that's not a complicated task.
Right, that's what, yeah, you said you.
Couldn't these people do that?
Well, yeah, they could, it may be in there, but
I kind of questioned them about it, and they just said, well, it's all in that book, basically, and.
Yeah, well, I think you just need to have somebody demand it. It's in other words, they reference like E101.
That's what, yeah,
Culvert,
and
and they need to tell you what page on the plan set, where is it?
right,
And if they didn't do that, then they just need to submit a plan that says it's on the corner of this road and that road.
Right,
You need to-
yeah.
You need to
Well,
demand.
My point is, we shouldn't hire somebody else if they've already done this. They just need to explain it.
Yeah, they need to.
Am I right?
They need to
Is
give it
that-
to you. If that's what you're after, you're after
What's in
physical
this?
location.
Right.
Well, I'm not an engineer, I just play an attorney, but the general site plan that you guys have. And the corresponding details is Bob is elegantly laid out, are more specific to all of the calculations, engineering drawings, specs, et cetera, with some design elements, again, 30%. Not fully designed for these exact conversations. If there are issues, if there are problems, they can be caught early in the process and redesigned if necessary without incurring additional costs for design fees. If the question is specifically as simple as we would just like a cheat sheet of culverts, locations, et cetera, I'm sure that NextEra can provide that. And then that can be, I won't put work on Bob's plate, but he seems to be pretty well versed on it. That's something that could be very easily just checked against the existing plans that would not require the county to go out and expend resources for something that is, again, what I'll describe as a cheat sheet that could maybe more succinctly capture specifically what the board's looking for on those culverts.
I sent Charlie the ordinance with the battery storage.
Yeah, cause it's under section 2 or section 3 definitions. CS, ES, and in the paragraph, it says battery storage facilities. So.
I guess my point is that just to clear this up and go move on is your ordinance doesn't, it may define but you're doing CSES, which is the
It's an
I would just think if
right?
we've reviewed all of this and we're ready to go in front of the tech review committee, we would have realized that there was a battery storage facility going in there. It seems crazy that we're at this point and nobody realized they were looking at a battery storage facility somewhere in these plans. That seems crazy to me.
going back to their comments, I mean, it's not a big deal for me to. They give me the information, or if I want to write a letter to get that from next area, that's fine. Can be part of my review for them and get that information to you, but then the question remains, what are you gonna do with that from that point? Like, do you want more detail of the design of each, an analysis of their calculations of whether they have the right size dish, or are you guys gonna feel comfortable looking at where this is located and going out there and saying, okay, well, yeah, there's a 36 upstream and a 36 downstream, and they're putting a 42 in.
I agree, because I think our goal here would be, give the board exactly what it's looking for to answer whatever questions the board has. So the location of the culvert would lead the board to ask additional follow-up questions of X, Y, and Z. Perhaps the board could articulate to Bob exactly what they want detail-wise on this cheat sheet, culvert locations, any type of dimensions, specs, details that might be related to that. We could respond to Bob and just try to get all the questions answered in one document versus it going back and forth over weeks, months, etc. When we probably could have thought through the right questions and the right answers to provide you guys in the beginning, because we want to be transparent and give you guys everything you need to make your determination and feel comfortable with the project.
Right, and that's how I'm handling my work with the plan commission, is I get back to them, with my document, which they don't have. And then when I find something that doesn't conform, or I have a question,
Make a note of it.
I just mark this up, send it to them, and say, can you answer this question? Can you answer this question? If they don't answer it right, or if I feel they don't answer it where I can say this meets the ordinance, I send it back to them and say, well, I need a little more, I need this, I need that. And they give it to me, or they give me an answer. And so right now, like I said, this document's at like 95-6%, it's ready to go to them. One of those hangups is obviously the one question of, do you have drainage board approval? Which certainly they could have a tech committee without that, but I think they decided they wanted the drainage board part cleaned up before they actually had that tech committee meeting, which is, that's up to them. But certainly whatever we need to do if you want to give me a task, I can see if I can't accommodate drainage board as far as getting that.
And I don't know how any of the other ones have been, because I guess I mean, I've been on the drainage board quite a while, but I don't remember discussing things like this so much. But as far as maintenance of any of the ditches, maybe beforehand, even before these projects get started, because we know that we're gonna have more water to deal with and things like that. I mean, is that something we should address to them? I mean, as far as some of these ditches need to be cleaned before because once we get done with this project, who's gonna be responsible for cleaning them and things like that if they need it? And if they're private drains especially.
Well, under the current way this is structured, you manually have in front of you is part of the stormwater SWIP thing. So obviously you could have issues during construction with runoff, dirty runoff, which would then put sediment into the ditch or sediment into the culverts, whatever that is. That's handled under the construction permit. So when it's all said and done, I would say any violations of drainage law, whether they built something within 75 feet, or they put an illegal culvert in, or they did something that was against drainage law, that's an issue directly with the drainage board at that point, that they've done something just like anybody else that says, I put that in there and I didn't ask permission, now I want forgiveness or whatever. But you see what I'm getting at. So the pollution of the ditches and culverts and the sediment buildup and things like that theoretically should be handled under the SWIP ordinance. So any violation of that is handled through IDEM.
Okay, IDEM oversees that.
Right, well, they don't, but they don't, that now.
They don't police it.
Well, they sometimes do. If there's several calls to a site, a big construction site, I've seen where IDEM has come in and then there's a lot of hand slapping going on and fines going on. So if you got a contractor that says, okay, that guy left, I'm gonna open up this mud gate. You keep doing that, well, you're gonna get more complaints. So the more complaints you get, the more IDEM's gonna be on top of that. I'm assuming that's how it goes. I've seen a few construction sites where there's been somebody from IDEM because of the blatant disregard to the construction practice that they said they were gonna do. So this is no different. So, but once construction is done and they have to sign off on the NOI, the construction complete, everything's stabilized, construction's over. Now it's their thing that they have to maintain just like everybody else. So if they're in violation of some sort of drainage law, come before you. That's about as far as, protecting yourself. I get you to have your ball behind you. Myself, the drainage law is pretty thick, right? So, you have that behind you. The construction, you have that covered, that everything that every solar companies, including them, is pretty complete. They get their NOI. I don't need to approve that. I don't have to approve their stormwater. I can look at it. I look at it in general and say, but that gets approved by the state.
Anything else?
Where we headed?
Just to clear it up, the way I understood what was said was that the board will determine what they want on the cheat sheet. That will then go to Bob and Bob will communicate with them.
I understood it, yes.
Okay.
He's okay with that.
Yeah, because there's only like 6 or 7 or something.
No, there wasn't. 'Cause I saw that page in there and I questioned them about it and they're like, well, it's all in that book but I'm no engineer to understand
Depends
some
on
of
what
that.
I guess we should clarify what you wanted me to do with that information. Initially, we're gonna see where these things are on a sheet. So if you want me to do some sort of checks on their engineering checks, see if the right size, I don't know to what magnitude you do that with everybody else. When somebody comes in, needs a new culvert, obviously they have some sort of calculation and then you approve it or disapprove it. Now, whether,
We always just ask what's downstream.
Right.
yeah, so, and that's okay, but usually a company or whatever, it's probably gonna take it to a different level. They're gonna,
Oversight.
So there's a lot to hydraulics.
Mhm.
Okay, a lot of times everybody says, well, I set this pipe and the pipe tipped to a 10th. It's not going downstream, it's tipped a 10th up. I get that all the time. Tom used to ask me that. Well, hydraulically, that little 10th or 2 tip the other way gives you more flow hydraulically through that pipe going downstream. But, common sense says, well, no, that's not right. But that's an engineering question, right? They're running models and seeing what's the most efficient flow through that pipe, whatever they need to do that. So, yeah, so if you want me to take to another step, I think we'd have to talk about some sort of agreement or compensation for that. Like if you want to go look at each site or, go out there with Glenn and so she's familiar with what's going on, what they're trying to do, and explain that to her or something that something I can provide. But initially, it's a plan to review the locations and maybe the sizes of what they're doing. And then getting with Glenn and showing her probably. And then she can explain, because at that point, or I can come to the next drainage board meeting or whatever.
that how you guys wanna proceed then, with locations and sizes and that type of thing? Okay.
Anything else on that before we move on?
I guess my only question would be, since these approvals are kind of locked into a chronological order here, since Plan Commission and TAC are looking for drainage board feedback. And we're gonna work with Bob here to get the board what it needs. When would the next board meeting be for you guys to then look at it, feel comfortable, provide, you know, recommendation or some sort of, kind of final action on that, so that it then could progress to task plan, plan commission approval. Cause I could see this dragging out another 5 months, and I could see it maybe get a 1-2 month solution.
Well, our next meeting is March 4th, but,
The tech committee meeting was tentatively scheduled for the 12th.
of,
This one.
February. Oh,
I
okay.
mean, you could look at it as, we could, I guess that's up to the plan commission, we could still have the tech review committee. And their ultimate approval would be subject to that one item.
Right,
In other words, they could go through the whole tech review and get it. So there's nothing else, and they might come up with something that I
Okay.
deliver and they don't want to honor what I've said.
okay.
You know, like something different or something. So the only one item still hanging out there is the actual approval. We could go through, you know, but I can go through everything else that they require
Mhm.
up to that point. But that still doesn't answer his question of, from that point, then what? Then it has to, I assume if they approve the tech, let's say they approve the tech meeting subject to the approval of the drainage board, not. That means once you have your meeting and you approve or deny, then if it's approved, then it would automatically be approved by the.
Okay.
That's complete.
Does that work for you?
Yeah, and you said the next drainage board meeting is March
4th.
4th.
Mhm.
Yeah, because I think if that is articulated to the members of TAC, that they can consider the submittal. As Bob just kind of laid out, and if, you know, all things but drainage board approval are good to go on their end, then it could be conditionally approved by TAC, and then it comes back to you guys in March. We've answered all the questions that the board's looking for, board feels comfortable, and then that approval from the board then kind of completes the circle there with plan commission that the TAC item, the drainage board have both been addressed.
Is that doable with you, Glenn?
And we'll save the county from spending $2,000 on
Well,
somebody to
yeah,
look
that's
up
what-
something that they can do in
right.
half an hour.
Yes,
Right.
yes.
Yeah, because and whatever you're asking, I'm gonna put all the burden on them.
Approve it,
Provide.
provide it, yeah,
So you're
correct.
gonna design it. Redesign, I'm not redesigning it.
Right. Yep. Yeah, I guess if they can just show us individual maps or it's big blown, you know, or not big, but even a sheet of paper or whatever that shows the ditch, it shows where the culvert's gonna be and things like that.
Yeah, they have that, I mean, they have the maps already, and they can.
Right,
More descriptive, I don't think.
right. Just pull it out, make it a little more obvious for us and,
Yeah, I think this sounds more like a drill down versus a reinventing of the.
right, I think so, yes.
Happy to do that.
Okay. Okay. Move on, old business, what was our new business last month?
So, Allsoft reached out to me yesterday. They gave me a call and they want to know, they had got an extension on the other project. But now they're asking if they can have an extension on the ZDOC tile. What you guys, the other extension that you guys had given them was till May 31st.
What did he want on the tile? Did he put a date on the tile?
No, but he was hoping for about that long, it sounds like.
The other one was on the Starke plastic board, wasn't it?
Correct.
Yeah, let's just say, I thought we voted on that other meeting.
Well, we didn't have it. Nobody was beating the door down to do that.
No, no,
You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
We don't have a lot of options.
right, yeah.
That one doesn't really affect crops, correct?
No, I don't think that one did.
Very little, if any.
I guess I'm okay with it, like you said.
So May 31st, like the other one, or,
Yeah, we need to make a motion.
yeah.
Yeah.
well,
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve the extension.
Second.
All in favor?
I,
Opposed? Motion carries. We need to
I'll let
May
them know.
31st.
All right. That's all the old business I have.
New business.
In the past, I've had a spending limit, or they've had a spending limit, of course, for the surveyor. And I'm obviously good with that. So are we having a spending limit of how much money that I don't need board approval? Is it like 2,000 or what are we?
Well, what, do you remember what it was?
It's 2,000.
Yeah, it was 2,000.
Yeah.
I just wanna know, cause I've got some beaver dams already that I went and looked at yesterday. They're gonna need taken out, so,
We'll probably see a lot more since it's starting to get
yeah. I'm
active.
gonna-
Spring.
Yeah,
Spring weather. and
Little-
winter.
right.
Little guys will wake up.
So we'll go with the $2,000 then. All right. And so I guess just real quick, as far, can there be an exception in that with just beaver dams? Because I noticed that looking through some of the files, what was that, $2,200 yesterday, just to get a beaver dam out? I'm not looking to do any big projects, but it's cost a lot of money now to do all these simple little things, it seems like. And I don't wanna get something held up for another meeting. I could at least call the president or even all the board members individually and let you guys know, but I'm just. With a beaver dam, I don't wanna wait when we're
We'll
getting.
Greg a
close to
call,
rainy.
and if he's concerned, then we'll all get called, but otherwise, let Greg. You guys have a problem with that?
Okay,
No.
Yeah,
That's
that would just be
Yeah.
an ex- for beaver dams,
Yeah.
so nothing else,
$200?
yep. All right. New business also is working on getting some spray plans going. I really am hearing wonderful things about Heritage Drone Services. From other counties, and so I wanna do some work with him, hopefully, with you guys' approval, we'll get some bids sent out and that type of thing, but. Anywhere in you guys' areas that you think or know that there are weed problems, I would really like to know as soon as possible.
Every ditch.
Well, I know.
Where do you want to start?
I know, it is, it's bad, but yeah, I wanna come up with something as soon as possible, cause if I don't get to him, sometime in
Yeah,
March, he's
yeah.
gonna be booked up, so.
So we have differences between the brush and the actual curly leaf and.
Yes,
and-
yep.
And grass,
Mhm.
grass is a different situation,
But
Yes,
can he do
yep.
all?
no. I
Can
mean,
he spray the brush?
Yes.
Yes.
Sure,
Mhm.
but if you start spraying stuff that's killing grass in ditch.
Then it becomes a problem, right?
Yeah.
It's gonna have ditch bank issues.
Right.
We just need to clarify what we want done on each ditch,
Yeah,
Correct.
okay,
Yeah. that's all.
And I did notice, and Gwen, we talked about it a little bit. When he was here, I don't remember, I thought I had wrote down somewhere. The amount of money he said it would cost or whatever. And then when he sent that flyer, whatever it was
Yeah.
$500 or something. So it was different than what he had told us. It was considerable more, I
Mhm,
think. I thought it was like 350 or something like
that's what
that.
I thought too.
And also this paper's at 500, it's like, whoa, that's quick, but still cheaper probably than.
Oh, a lot, yeah.
Than anything else.
And no damage.
No crop damage,
Right.
right, you can go in anytime, and
Right.
yeah, that's.
No pluses.
Well, maybe we can, you need, if we got a lot of mileage, you have to say, wait a minute here,
Oh, right.
And I think he said this year he's gonna have 3 crews going or something, he's got like 5 drones or
something.
I think 5 or 6 drones or something.
Hired 7 new guys and yeah, he sounds like he's gonna be
He's
busy.
gonna have quite a crew, I think.
One other new business item is, this is Sarah. And she's worked for the county for 9 years total. And so she's the new deputy surveyor. She's doing a wonderful job. Going to be doing some upgrading, some things in the office with paperwork, and she's excellent with all the computer programs, and so, yeah, it's been a great help and she's a wonderful asset, so. Other than that, that's all I've got for new business.
I was gonna ask, did you ever get that culvert on 10 or?
I'm going down.
Okay, all right.
Not,
Okay.
not trying to
That's-
stall.
that's fine, I just-
That's a little crazy.
It was in the minutes from last meeting. I
Yes.
didn't know if you got there. or not. Any other public comments? Or-
Question, just a crazy question. So MediaCom's gonna come in and they're gonna. If they're gonna.
Or-
Under, it's not dredge, or under 8 feet. I'm just curious, do we get any kind of permit fee for that? Like,
No, but that's something that I thought about that prior to January, and I haven't ran it across the board yet, of course, but. Cause we have to establish a fee schedule, like an ordinance and a fee schedule and that type of thing. So I would like to look into that in the future to bring some money into our office.
I say, it just seems like we could use money in the drainage
Right,
area.
I mean, of course, I wouldn't be able to go into the ditch assessment money, but it would go into like the general fund or things like
Right.
that, so yeah, I did consider that. And I'm
just don't
looking
know
into
counties,
it, but
there's a fee
there is.
or anything like that.
I didn't know
Yeah.
that.
Yeah,
There's-
yeah.
Because you gotta pull a permit, so
Mhm.
I didn't know, I mean, they get it from you, do they pull the permit from the building?
No, it
Or
would come from the
you?
surveyor's office.
Okay.
Yeah, I've called around to
There's just-
several
we
other
just
counties.
Never charge for that stuff?
Never, never.
No,
did that.
never. But yeah, when I went down to, a training prior to January, they talked about that down there, and so I was able to ask a lot of questions to area surveyors and get on their websites and check out their fees and stuff, and I think that would be wonderful to implement here. Less money even that we have to ask from the council,
Yeah.
so, oh, another.
They'll bring some money in.
Mm.
Another new thing real quick too, I probably shouldn't let the cat out of the bag because I'm gonna jinx myself, but I've applied for a grant for a drone. So they'll have a meeting this month in February and they'll decide who they're gonna pick.
Huh.
But that would be a wonderful asset.
Oh, yeah.
Went out to look at the beaver dam yesterday. I'm not opposed to walking by any means, don't get me wrong. But it was,
Yesterday
yeah,
I
or
think
even
I had-
with Dale, I went out with Dale Shannon the other day
What's
and
that, Beaver Dam?
it's up there on Salt Drive. Right off of 30 and 23, right on the corner.
Oh,
So, yeah, but yeah, so we'll see how that goes, but yeah, anyway, that's all I've got for new business.
We done?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
A second.
Meeting adjourned.
Okay.
Next meeting.